Hey everyone, if you are watching this, that means you decided to watch the second half of my interview, and so I thank you for that. Thank you so much, because this does mean a lot to me that I got to interview someone who was such a crucial part of me becoming so enamored with the Halo universe. So, without further ado, I'm gonna get right into it on this video because it is the second part, so I hope you enjoy. So, obviously your favorite mods were in Halo, but was that your favorite thing to mod, or did you have like a guilty pleasure in particular? I know you said you liked Gears of War. That had a lot of mods go through it. And maybe what was your favorite experience while modding? Was there something that you were just like, oh wow, this is great. I really enjoy this. I could do this more often.
I guess I really loved my Xbox had the Xbox Media Center, which I believe everyone did if they soft modded or chipped their Xbox. And that little program right there was absolutely amazing. The fact that I could stream, it had, back then when all the plugins were active, it had like live streaming TV plugins. You could watch random webcams and watch all your movies that were downloaded into movie, TV, music. And that to show off to your friends was amazing. And it was like a media center before media centers existed. And that is probably why I loved my modded Xbox the most. Now the Halo and stuff, that was a lot of research and hard stuff for fun, but the media center was always there regardless if I wanted to put the effort towards it or not. And that's probably what I really enjoyed about modding in general.
Okay, so it was kind of a creative tool, not necessarily for a game, but definitely innovative.
Yeah,
So
I loved the whole entire soft modded Xbox. I mean, there were so many apps on that thing that 360 and Xbox One modding will never get to, because I mentioned Haley's comment before. That's exactly what OG Xbox modding was. It was a rare time where OEM security wasn't that high and the researching abilities of everyone was huge, and everyone contributed together for a single cause, and we had some amazing tools come out because of it.
interesting. So you brought up Xbox 360 and Xbox One modding. You know I gotta head in that direction. I know that we have JTags and dev kits for the 360. Do you think that we're ever gonna break past those boundaries with the 360 and maybe even with the Xbox One? What are your hopes for the future of modding on the Xbox, I should say?
I think modding is just, you really have to have a low entry barrier for it to be successful, because you need to have a community, and a community has to be a community of those that are modding. And with the OG Xbox, anyone could soft mod an Xbox with a $3 Splinter Cell game. I mean, you could soft mod with nothing but a game. Now, of course, you needed action replay to some extent and other tools, but it was relatively cheap. I mean, if you want to soft mod, I mean, if you want to mod a 360, your options are obviously not cheap and not easy either. You can't even RGH or JTag every box because of all the limitations of security that comes into play. And even if you did, the community that has them is so small that the tools and the tools that come out for those are nowhere near what the OG Xbox had. So we'll never get to the point that we had back then. That's not to diminish, like, freestyle dashboard on the 360 is absolutely amazing. That's a fine piece of programming work, that it was such a cool thing to use. And and whatever the other one called, Dash 360, or I can't even remember, Dash Launch, since it's been so long, but those tools were like the XBM of OG Xbox, because they just gave tons of leaps and bounds to what you could do.
Yeah, I actually am guilty of going back and actually looking at my. I bought Splinter Cell for my Xbox original just a couple years ago, and I soft modded it just for shiggles, and it really is. It's so easy. And then my 360, I wanted to make sure that I could, but I never went through with it. But I can, and I'm so happy because I have a really old one. It's great, kind of.
Yeah, that was it. I loved the Splinter Cell exploit. I wish I got to go back now that I know a bit more about things and learn how the hell it worked. I mean, you just a save file, and you glitch your entire Xbox into an exploit.
Yeah, for real. So, if some breakthrough does happen, would you plan on, I guess, trying to reinstate iBot mods, or would you support some new community? Is there some communities that you kind of keep tabs on, watch them grow, or anything?
A lot of the reasons I switched to Android stuff was because the community in the Xbox scene was just way too hostile and not, I mean, they weren't inviting to new members and stuff. I don't know if that's the same for other little niches of the Xbox area, but people, I mean, people obviously joked around but threatened to steal bank accounts. Now, obviously they weren't doing that, but the community was so aggressive and hostile, and people weren't sharing code. I mean, we were in, back then we didn't use Hangouts, we used AIM and Skype and IRC, and people were just so, they were holding on to their research and never helping, and everyone, things changed from what they were of in the Halo 2 days of everyone sharing everything to a, we're going to capitalize and make our own product, which is where like Modio and Valhalla and all these modded tools that cost money came into play. And I couldn't believe that people were going to charge money for modifying tools. And then all the cease and desist letters came out, and then people started spoofing gamer tags onto banned modified content, which all these people, like people intentionally putting my gamer tag on content I didn't make to get me banned. I couldn't believe that people were going to the ends to do that, which is why I just kind of slowly backed out of the Xbox community, because it was just too hostile. So I probably won't, even if there's a breakthrough, unless the names and the people in the scene are different, I probably won't come back because it was just a unpleasant, hostile environment towards the end.
Yeah, I definitely remember just even on other websites I would go just to kind of, you had to feel around, see where all the hubbub's about. And so even as far as hostility goes, iBot mods was probably the least amount of hostility that I could find in the modding community. But I don't know what goes on behind scenes, of course. But I mean, I would just remember going on to Seven Sins, which, I could I could hate on them all day, but they had some good stuff on occasion. But they were just so toxic.
Yeah, the owner of Seven Sins, Acid Rain, me and him talked a lot, and he suffered from a problem where he had so many members, which means he had so many moderators, that his moderators kind of started running the ship, steering the ship for him, which is natural because you can't do everything by yourself. But then he, being a bit older than me, started entering college and stuff and didn't have the time commitments. And that's when Seven Sins really evolved as something more than it was, where like a hierarchy of elitism versus regular old members started popping up, which is why I couldn't really take part in it. But that's not to say that some people there created some very amazing tools and shared them with that community.
Yeah, I remember, what was it? I don't know what the name was, but I'm pretty sure your name was on it, or at least you knew the group that was doing it. But there was some program, I just remember it was black and dark blue, and it was a huge research project, and you guys planned on updating it like very frequently, and I don't remember what it was based on. I think it was 360 research, but that was definitely towards the end of iBot Mod's popularity, and it's just like, no, all these other groups are charging for their stuff, or no one's releasing their information, and here's this group just trying to release like beta stuff. That was incredible to me that there was still some people out there that were going against the grain and releasing, I guess, not even finished code, but still they were trying,
Yeah, that's all I liked people that were like putting effort towards things and sharing their research of what they were doing, because you always had those people that said, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I want to do this, and wouldn't show any effort towards it. But then you had some people that were saying, I'm struggling here trying to figure out how to modify this save, and I've gotten this far. And I love those people that showed they put the effort towards it and couldn't get it. I would have no problem helping people like that, but that unfortunately started to change as people just started demanding or paying for things, is what I think inevitably took me out of the communities.
Right. Okay, well, I think I have enough for probably even 3 videos. We've kind of been going on for a while. I'm sorry to take up so much of your time, but do you have any final remarks you'd like to make with regards to, I guess, the future of the Halo community, modding community, or maybe even any questions you have for me?
I mean, what are you doing these days? Is everything modding wise, of course? I've been so far out of the community. The only people I really talk to these days are Alex, who he changes his online alias so much that I have no idea what he goes by these days. But he's the one of the developers on Assembly, which is the Xbox Chaos tool. So I have no idea what goes on or what you're up to or what the big news is these days.
Oh man, I haven't really heard anything huge going on in probably a few months actually. I don't know, I keep my ears open. I kind of guilty of going back. I found the old maps of Halo 2 again and I've been going back and just enjoying those. Modding the hell out of them, of course, with your AIO. Actually, you sent it to me a few years ago and I saved it on my computer and I still have it saved. That's actually kind of incredible, but hey, it works.
Yep, that little thing. I guess that's always a programmer's first tool. It's the hello world of Xbox modders. That's how I learned a language. I just made an all-in-one tool in that language.
Hey, it's super convenient. I mean, I didn't have to go in and do anything really. It's all right there for me. So, yeah. But other than that, just keeping my ears to the ground. You know, it's really disappointing that not much is going on. I've heard here and there some things of this guy knows a way to do this thing on the 360 and this person found out something interesting to do on the one. I don't know if you heard about that USB thing, I guess, exploit we'll call it, that they found like within the first month of the Xbox One coming out, where you could make it so that your Xbox One could work with any USB device. Like you could plug in a keyboard or a mouse and it would work as a controller just fine.
I did not hear about that, but that sounds very interesting.
Yeah, I read a little bit about it, but I don't know. I'd be kind of terrified if people were using mice for Halo or Call of Duty. I think I'd be getting wrecked a lot more often if it was that popular.
Yeah, well now with the Elite Xbox One controller coming out with remap support, I mean, it's a fair game now, since only prior to that modded controllers had that ability. Times are changing for everyone to have these once only modded controller abilities.
That's true, but it comes with a hefty price tag. That Elite controller is $150, so I don't know how I feel about it.
Yeah, that's true. I'll probably think of it as, if I'm gonna play Xbox One for another 4 or 5 years of my life, then one controller for my playtime entertainment value is a pretty good deal.
That's true, and it looks pretty nice. It's quite appealing to the eye, but sadly I play with the claw, so I don't even, like, I want a scuff even, and it's just for the looks of it, and to say I have a scuff, but I couldn't find a use for the paddles.
Yeah, I've surprisingly started feeling the need for a paddle for, there's some actions that just can't be done with with the fingers you have and the buttons there, where the paddles come into play.
Very true, very true. Maybe I'll pony up and drop the cash on it one day. I don't know. But thank you so much for giving me the time to interview you. I know you and your friends are pretty busy. They've been really quiet, and I appreciate that from them as well.
Yeah, they have been pretty respectful this time. That's not like them, so I thank them for that as well.
Is there anything you want to throw out? I kind of want to link I bought mods in this video. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, I mean, iBot mods, I mean, the forums are read-only and well, it's not read-only. I mean, it's no registrations anymore, but I just keep it online for all the Halo 2 archives that are there, and I had a script that I wrote back in the day that crawled all the images on the site and then downloaded them and then changed them so they were actually hosted on the iBot mod server, so none of the content on the website should ever be down, with the exception of third-party download links. So it's there for an archive for Halo 2 stuff. So if that's why people are going, it's good. But I don't foresee any like jump starting of a development community there.
True, true. All right, well, yeah, thanks again, and I guess I'll see you around on Xbox Live.
Will do. Thank you. Thanks for this. It's fun. I never really talked about this stuff in years and years.
All right, folks. Well, that concludes my interview with iBotPeaches, who is the owner of ibotmods.net. So if you want to go and check that website out and maybe see some of what the old times held for me and for many others, thousands others even, then go ahead, give it a shot. I'll put a link in the description below. And I really hope that you did enjoy this and maybe even gathered some useful knowledge, not necessarily to mod, or even if you don't support modding, I hope that this made you kind of think about your role models in life and maybe even what you would ask them if you got to meet them. So think about this week. And yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. Don't forget to like, favorite, comment, and subscribe. Shadow Rockets out.